Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and today we're going to continue with some end-to-end testing for our React Native web app. So if you're just joining for the first time, this stream is just me actually coding. I don't rehearse anything. I will make mistakes. I'll try to do my best to explain what I'm doing. Feel free to ask questions in the live chat, or if you're watching this later on, you can put the questions in the comments, or just shoot me a message on Twitter or whatever other social media platform that you like. And I'll split this up. I'll do a 25-minute period of coding, and then I'll go answer some questions in the live chat. So if you put your question in, I'm not ignoring you. I will get to it just after a bit of coding. So we are using React Native, but we're using something called React Native Web that will take all of our React Native code and make it work in a browser. So the benefit to doing that is that we can then take that same React Native code and run it in Android or iOS or whatever other platform that works with React Native. It also is a nicer development experience that we can develop right in the browser and don't have to spend as much time in an emulator, which usually takes up a lot more of your CPU, and it's harder to debug. Alright, so I want to start out by going over this pull request that I received. So you can check out, there's a link in the description for the GitHub repo. All the code is open source. It's all in this repo. If you want to add something to the code, please feel free. I have some issues already, and you can check those out. I'm going to start my timer since we're getting into actual code stuff now. But we did get a pull request, and I like the pull request, and everything that was done in app.js is awesome. So basically what it had done is made sure that the focus went into the input. So here's our game. Beautiful, I know, right? So what would happen is you put in, let's say, 4, and then the input's not focused anymore, right? So I have to actually click back in here. Okay, so not a good experience. I actually had my kids play this game a few days ago, and that's where I got a lot of the issues that I had put in over the weekend. Was just kind of observing what they were doing. So now, after this pull request, the focus will go back. So the thing I have a question about, though, and I'm not sure if you're watching. So who did this pull request? Sidus? Sorry, not sure how to pronounce that. But anyway, if you're watching, you can just answer me right in the chat. So I did have an issue where the division. This game is supposed to be for children who are just starting to learn how to do basic math, right? So the issue that I had with the division was you would divide like single-digit numbers, and you could potentially get decimal numbers, and children wouldn't be able to do that, right? They probably don't even have the concept of a decimal yet at that point. So I wanted it so that when you divide, you'd always get a whole number answer. Okay, so I think maybe in the issue I didn't explain it clearly, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like what this is doing is it's just taking whatever the answer is from the division, and it's just rounding it, right? Rounding it down. So what I actually wanted, and I put a little comment here too, is what I actually wanted is to make sure that the problem given to the user, the division problem, would have a whole number answer. So for instance, 9 divided by 3 is going to give you 3, right? Just 3. 4 divided by 2 is going to give you 2. But 3 divided by 2 is going to give you a fraction, right? A decimal. Same way with like 9 divided by 4, right? So the user would never be presented with 3 divided by 2 or 9 divided by 4, right? So that's more of like what I wanted. And I have a couple ideas for how to implement that, but if anybody else wants to implement that, please go ahead. And to do, if I guess, so like this part of the pull request is great and I'm ready to accept that, but this part, like I said, I think it needs worked a little bit differently, and that's probably my fault for not like explaining it well enough in the issue. So maybe I'll copy this as well and add it to the issue. Yeah, I didn't really provide much explanation or examples. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. And we can go back to some of the code, the testing code. And I do want to say what's up and just check and see who's here, who's watching. So hey everyone, I see a lot of you in the live chat. Just scrolling through really quick. Okay, I already see some questions in there, and I'll get to those questions as soon as the timer goes off. So hang in there. And if you can't hang in there right now, if you got to go do something, that's cool. You can always watch the recording of this later on, and you can hear my answer to your question there. Alright, so we did some testing, and briefly I'll just go through this. We're using Puppeteer to run a headless Chrome browser, and then we are simulating what a user would go through and verifying that our app does what we want it to do. Right, so this is an end-to-end test. If you want to check out like how we set this up, this browser.js, options.js, and runner.js, those are the files you want to check out for the setup. And then the actual test is just this one file for now, app.spec.js. If you want to know more about the test, check out the last stream. So we started this in our last live stream that I had done a week ago. But let's jump into this. So for now, our first test is we're checking to make sure we can actually see the title. So like this basically verifies that the page loads and it has the text on it that we want it to have, right? We also verify that the hero character can be seen. So when I say the hero, I mean this little purple square for now. Still need to work out some graphics and a better color scheme for this. Although my kids did like the colors. So, although these aren't really... This doesn't look great to me. It actually may not be bad for kids, so we'll see. I think I need some more testing, user testing, before I make a final decision on the colors. Let's see. So we're testing that, and what I'd like to test is also, do we have the correct number of enemies? So right now we're testing addition, all right, and we're saying correct addition problem should reduce the enemies by 1, right? And we got pretty far along in this, but not quite. So we have our value 1, our value 2. So we're actually getting the numbers that are on the page for our problem, right? So, and we're getting okay, and then we're adding these numbers together, right? So potentially we would do the same test for each mode of the game, right? Which for right now is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All right, but once we get this addition one working, we could pretty much just copy and paste most of it to get it working for the other modes. All right, so we have it all the way down to where the user would click submit. And what we need to do is just figure out, okay, are there just 2 elements left with the class of enemy? So I believe we already added that class. I should verify because our test definitely is going to fail if we don't have anything with that class on it. So let's go to our app.js and check out our enemies. And where's our enemies? Oops, I went too far. Yep, so we do have a class name of enemy on all our enemies. Alright, so let's go back to the test. So what we need to do then is just figure out in our tests how to do this. So I'm thinking that we could, there's going to be some way to check for the number of enemies. So let's go over here to our documentation. Which I thought I had some documentation open from the last time, but I guess not. Alright, so let's think. What would this be? Probably not Puppeteer documentation. We're looking at maybe Jest. We'll see. Alright, let's check this out. This looks like I've been here. I've been to this article already. And alright. Let's open up the documentation for both of these. I was hoping I'd get lucky and I'd see an example of them doing the same thing instead of having to look at the documentation. But I don't think that's going to happen. Okay. Alright, so let's check out Puppeteer. API. Puppeteer is what actually runs the interactive documentation. This is what actually runs the headless browser. Yeah, but we can see we have page, a lot of options with the Puppeteer API. Away page, and I don't actually think that Puppeteer is going to give us what we want, which is why I opened Jest as well. Let's see if they got a link directly to the docs. Nope, not Yarn docs. Oh well. Docs. Here we go. Mock functions. Using the website, using Puppeteer. Oh, API, that's what I want. Okay. Describe. I hate to just look through docs when I'm doing the coding, but I really don't know what the what the correct way to do this is. If anybody has an idea or knows, go ahead and throw it in the chat as well. I'll keep trying to look over and see if you have the answer. Also, let me make this a bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so, and just to be clear, what I need to do is figure out, I need to get the exact number of elements on the page that have the class name of enemy. Describe only each. These are not helping me. Oh, you know what I had last time? Now I remember this. I had my other computer open, and I think that's where I actually had all of the documentation open, and I kept checking my other computer. That's why I didn't have any documentation open on my machine. Maybe I still have it open. Let's check this out. And I, in fact, do have quite a bit of documentation open on my other screen right now. Let's see. The problem with what I'm doing right now in testing, at least for me, is so I'm using several different testing like frameworks. So potentially, like on the same page, we could be using things from Puppeteer, Jest, Mocha, or Chai, right? So trying to find the right thing to say in the documentation has been difficult. This is a good time to remind everybody, this is not a tutorial. This is me trying to figure out how to do things. It's supposed to be a realistic look at how a software engineer works. Sometimes it works out well and I get things done, and sometimes I don't. Alright, so let's just try something. So we had just copied and pasted this from up here with this comment. So we have our result now would be, after we've clicked submit, we're going to check for our inner HTML, and we should be able to expect the result to contain, and instead of hero, we could say enemy, but we want it we want two enemies. Alright, so that's the issue. Expect result, number of alright, and now is, let's see, just testing, find number of elements with. Alright, so if you couldn't see that, I just searched just testing, find number of elements with class on page. Find selector enzyme. We're not using enzyme, so that's not gonna work. Alright, let's see. jQuery, get out of here. Just you can use click your Alright, let's switch it up. React end to end testing. Alright, let's look at these for now. DOM manipulation. Strict manipulation DOM. Let's see if we can test the following snippet of jQuery code that listens to a click event. Let's fetch current user. Displays as a click. Yeah, not exactly what we want. Alright, that actually looks like an interesting article, but not exactly for what we want to do. Alright, let me check this. Alright, Harshit's here. What's this? And Harshit has some ideas. We're not using just. This is alright. Harshit's saying you should use Cypress for end-to-end testing. Alright, I've never used Cypress. Harshit says I'm not using enzyme. I know I'm not using enzyme. It says you're not using Jest. Wait a second. So Jest is not being used at all in here? Why did I think I'm using Jest? Nope, that's not what I wanted. Clicked the wrong thing. So Harshit. I mean, that actually makes sense though. So using Chai and browser. Let's just go to Cypress really quick then, because I don't know what Cypress is. Okay. Type true to equal true. Okay, so the syntax looks very similar to all the normal testing syntax. Alright, so what then is better about Cypress than Puppeteer? It seems like Cypress maybe does more than Puppeteer. Correct? Okay. Arshit says it'll take time to move to Cypress. Oh, Michael said Jest was removed from package.json. So Jest actually is installed with Create React App, so it's there. It's just not in a package.json. Like it comes with React scripts. All right. So let's just make it work with this one then. Okay, Harshit says Cypress is a complete framework, better UI. Alright, I'll have to check out Cypress then later on today and see if that's something we want to switch to. We're really not that far along with testing, so a switch shouldn't be too bad. Alright, so Harshit's saying we could just check elements.length. Just check the length. Okay. Page weight, click body, HTML. Move to Cyprus. Sorry, I'm looking at the live chat. All right, so Harshit, since you know what you're doing here, help me out here. So I need to check the elements.length. So can I get HTML body enter HTML? So do I need to check, like, could I just directly, I guess what I'm asking is, am I doing the check off of result, off of the inner HTML then? Enemies equals result dot contain. Okay, Harshit's saying don't use result. No, don't use the result. Oh, Harshit asked if we could do the live share. I don't have the VS Code live share set up on this computer. It says don't use result, use your CSS class. Okay, so don't use result, use CSS class. Okay. Yeah, I can't use the link, but I think my timer went up. Okay, timer went up. Let's take a break. And let me answer some questions right now. Alright. A lot of people just saying hi, asking what language this is in. It's in JavaScript. Let's see. Okay, here's a question. Carl says, I think Jesse should take a coding challenge from us, and he should program a slot machine game using React Native Web. A slot machine game? I'd never thought of doing that. Maybe we can do that. Carl says, next project must be a slot machine or card game using React Native Web. Say that you accept the challenge. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll think about accepting the challenge. Avia says, would you recommend C++ for game developing? I don't know. I don't know what the best is for game development. So I'm not the probably the best person to give advice. Can you suggest to me a video where I can learn all about the basics of C language? Check out the CS50 courses from Harvard. They're all on YouTube. The first, maybe like the third week or third video or something, I believe they go over basics of C. So check out that. I mean, it's I don't think it's in the first video, but definitely within like the first few videos they go over C. Arun asks, what is software testing? Basically, like in this case, we're doing automated testing. So we create a program that runs our app and test the app, right? You could also do like testing where like an actual person tests your app, and that's important too, to do them both. But that's what I mean by testing. Creepy asks, should I go for Microsoft certification for web? I don't really know. I don't know anything about Microsoft's web certification. Milano World says, I don't know what you do, Jesse, but I'm still learning. I'm busy with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Says, and it looks cool. Hopefully I'll get there. What are you doing? This is React Native, and we're doing testing for React Native. So, but keep it up with the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. When you get good with that, you can move on and do React if you want. Let's see. PA says, I am your biggest fan. Can you please do videos about Pygam? I really need to know. I don't know anything about that, so I probably won't do videos. Let's see. Getting almost done. Hugo says, oh, this is sort of like pair programming. Yeah, it's kind of like pair programming, except there's a lot more people involved. Alright. Gap says, it's like 8 a.m. and you out here coding. Respect. Yeah. Yeah, it is. So we started at 7:30. It is early, but this is the only time of day that I can like reliably do this coding show. Vika says, love and saw all your videos, nice and very knowledgeable. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Gukerat says, is Java enough for getting a job? Oh yeah, there are a ton of Java jobs available. So they hire Java developers where I work all the time. Hugo says, CS50 is a bit hard for a total newbie. CS50 could be, but I don't know. They start you out really easy. Like, they start you out with Scratch. So, but you're right. I mean, I didn't look at even the CS50 videos till I'd already been a developer for a couple years. So, I guess I don't know what it'd have been like if I had tried it as a total newbie. But it's supposed to be an intro to computer science class. So it's supposed to be okay even for new people. Okay, I actually got through the everything in the chat. If I happen to miss your question, just ask it again, or put in the comments or something. All right, let's go. I don't think I'm going to be able to do an entire Pomodoro session. I'm going to have to finish up before that. So let me just mark down where we left off at 8 in the chat. Whoops, 802. So I can come right back to there. All right, now let's get, at the very least, this test working before we end, or at least try our best to get this test working. This is actually way harder than I anticipated it would be. It seems like an easy thing, but since I've never done it, it's kind of hard. Okay, so let's go back here and say, okay, so we need to get the number of elements on the page. So our selector is going to be enemies, right? Is that what it is? No, I need to double check and make sure it's not enemy. Yeah. I think it is enemy, but let's double check. Enemy, yep. Okay. So selector is enemy, and I wonder if we could do So like instead of eval body on the page, like can we grab, so page dot, and that would be puppeteer. That'd be a puppeteer thing. So let's type page. Let's see what we have for our page. Page on, not page on. Page selector, yeah. Alright. Returns, runs document query selector within the page. If no element matches, return value is null. Okay, so I don't want that, I want the number. If no one's, this should return. Alright, so it'll resolve to an empty array. So I'm assuming it would be an array. So we need to use $$ selector. $$. And let's call this enemies. And get rid of this. Actually, we can call this, let's say, number of enemies, and we should be able to do dot length, right? Number of enemies is declared. Alright, and let's go number of enemies to equal Alright, let's see. See if that works. First, let me see. Close number of enemies he's got. Okay, cool. So that's what Harshit is saying too. Awesome. I do want to say, like, so I took that, I don't know, 5 or 6 minute break, and before the break, like, my brain was just totally flustered, right? Like, I have no idea what to do here. After the break, it seemed like it was very clear. I just thought, like, okay, fine. Like, my brain had accepted the fact that I was mistakenly looking at the wrong documentation, which Harshit informed me of as well. But it just took me a second to wrap my mind around the fact that, like, the page that we get from Puppeteer would have different methods on it. So anyway, I'm just saying that to say, like, it's definitely a good idea to take periodic breaks. I love the Pomodoro technique, which is 25 minutes of code, 5-minute break. It's happened just now to me, but it's happened a lot of other times that I'm stuck on a problem because in my mind, like, I'm thinking this is the way to fix it, this is the path, but in reality, that's a dead end, right? That's the wrong way to go about it. And then when I take a break and think about something else for a couple minutes and come back to it, it's almost like a reset, and it just frees up my brain to take a different path, right? So it's counterintuitive that taking a time off would help you do something faster, but that has happened to me so many times. So anyway, definitely recommend that. All right, cool. So I do want to test this. So I want to test the test. So let's run yarn e2e. I think that's what I did. Let's check it out. E2e. Yep. Yarn e2e should run this, and we'll get an idea of whether this works. Nope. All right. Let's see what the problem is. No node found for selector answer inputs. Oops, did we not? Maybe I didn't do that. App. Let's go to our app file. And let's find our input. Native ID, answer input. Okay, we should have an answer input. No node found for selector answer input. Alright, let's check that out again. Type answer input answer. What did I do? So we're trying to type into answer input, and we're going to put the answer in there. So this should be correct. I'm going to copy that and then paste so that we have for sure exactly the same thing. Oh, I see what the problem is. It was camel case here and it was not camel case there. Alright, let's switch that up then. Well, at least that's an easy fix. Silly mistake, but easy fix. Usually, like in JavaScript, you camel case everything, or at least most things, but when you're doing these selectors, oh, no selector submit. Did I not put submit on the button? Like when you're doing selectors like with CSS and HTML, the standard is usually to hyphenate things. So I tend to just go with that. It just bothers me to see camel case stuff in the DOM. So that's why I do it like that. Native ID submit. Alright. No node found for selector submit. Now I know we have a button called submit, right? Native ID submit. Right? We have answer input. They obviously found that. Submit. S-U-B-M-I-T. S-U-B-M-I-T. Alright, we have it. Let's verify, like, in the DOM that is there. Okay, so here's our submit button. Let's inspect it and see. It should have the ID. Does it not? Do we not have the ID submit here? Alright, let's check this out. S-U-B-M-I-T. Wait a second. That's just weird. That's really weird. We don't have an ID. Alright. Let's go back to our code. Double check what we're doing. Okay, so we have this button. We have submit. It's possible that you can't put a native ID on a button. I know you can do it on touchable opacity, so let's switch it to touchable opacity. And this is going to take button. Oops. There we go. Touchable opacity. There we go. And we'll need inside of here. We can't do the title anymore. So what we're gonna do? Whoa, hold on. Oops, I guess that went on the wrong one. And I guess I need to keep the button in there for that one. Okay, so touchable opacity allows you to kind of like do more with a button. So you can check it out. We may bring up the documentation in a second. Touchable opacity, and let's add inside of there a view, and we'll add text, and we'll say submit. Okay, we don't need a title, and I think this should work as the bare minimum we need for touchable opacity. Let's see if that does what we want. Alright, so the styling is going to be off. So like button comes with styling, touchable opacity does not. So we need to add our own styling, which is fine. Yep, here we go. Now we have the ID submit. So let's try that again. Alright, so that's kind of good to know. Evidently, you can't directly put an ID on a button. Now that I think about it, maybe there is a way to do it, and I just need to look it up. But I actually almost always use touchable opacity instead of button because I normally want to have different styling anyway. Alright, so now that we verify that the submit ID is on the page, let's see what error we get now. Expected undefined to equal. Okay, so we got undefined with our test. Alright, so now we actually have an issue with the test. So page, she said await, and we wanted a page, and we were trying to get the enemy. Let's see. So maybe this doesn't return what I thought it would return. Okay, so I thought it would return. Whoops. Let's get rid of this stuff we don't need. I thought this would return an array with the elements in it. Let's see what it actually returns. So it's returning. So it says what it's running, like what the JavaScript is. So let's see if we can run this. We'll go to the console and we'll say document query selector all, and I'm assuming we can just put in dot enemy. Oops, what did we get here? Okay, we got 3, which is correct. Alright, so let's see, let's do it again, but then say dot length, and we should get 3. Good. Now what we should have, if we get the right answers, is actually 2. Alright, so this works. Let's verify now that that's what we actually wrote in our code. So page $$ dot enemy dot length, and here we have page dot mainframe dot selected. Yeah, I mean it looks like that's what we're doing. Right? Alright. Okay, Harshit says you need to do the length in the next line. Okay, cool. So I guess then that won't work, doing the chaining the length on. So let's switch this up and say sorry, I need a different keyboard or something. This is just too different from what I'm used to using at work. Anyway, number of enemies equals enemies.length. And we'll change this to enemies. Alright. Now let's do the test. Alright. Failed. Why do we fail? Correct addition answer reduces enemies by 1. Expected 4 to equal 2. Hey, we got an actual number. But it looks like... Alright, so this would seem that maybe we got the answer wrong. And we actually have 4 enemies. So let's... let's see what happens here. Alright, so we're getting these values. And... we're trying to add the values. Do we need to do answer equals value 1 plus value 2? These are probably coming through as strings. Maybe we need to have them be not strings. What do you think? Oh, Harsha just said they are strings. All right. Oh, and Harshit says for button, you can actually use test ID instead of native ID, and that'll work. All right, so that's good to know. All right. What? How do we do this? Is it parse int, right? Is that? Let's try this out. Yeah, parse int. That's what we want. And I think the base is optional, so like we already have, like the base defaults to base 10, I believe. Maybe not. Anyway, parse int. Where are we at? Alright, let's parse int, and just to be sure, let's say base 10. So like this base here, like base 10 is like our normal number system. Like if we put 2, it would be in binary, right? So that's where the base is. I'm not gonna. I would assume that base 10 is the default, but I didn't see that it said that in the documentation, so I'm not gonna assume it. I'm just gonna put that in there. All right, let's see if that makes the difference then, and we get a correct answer. Text is not iterable. What did I do? Alright, type error, text is not iterable. Okay, Harshit says it does default to 10. Alright, that's cool. What the heck am I doing with this text is not iterable? Type error. Harshit says pass it like this. Okay. Oops. Harshit's saying maybe we need to give Puppeteer a string. Yeah, that makes sense. It was getting a string before. Now it's... shoot. What is this? Any is not defined. Oh, the $sign is not defined. Maybe... Oops, template literal. Sorry. Didn't catch that. Thanks for the verification. Okay. And those are curlies. Alright. I think I need to increase my font size. Not on this screen that you can see, but on my other screen. Because I couldn't even tell those were curly brackets. I thought they were parentheses. Okay. Let's give that a shot. Harshit, it's good to be working with you again. I love it. Sweet, and that worked. Awesome. Alright, cool. So, at some point I stated I just wanted to at least get this test working, and evidently it works. I would say if anybody wants to do other tests like this, go ahead, but Harshit said that he wants to switch this over to using Cyprus, which actually is really cool. I'm interested to see how Cyprus works. Alright, cool. So let's save this before I finish up with the rest of the questions. Get status. Alright. Those are the files that I worked on, so that makes sense. Get commit. We're going to commit and do AM, and that's going to let us, so I'm going to say test, add test for addition. Hit push. Alright, cool. That should be on GitHub now. And I think I saw a message in there about this, that pull request, that it's updated or something like that. Did I? Okay, so I'll have to check that out and pull that in, because I want to make sure I get through these questions, if there are any more questions, and then get to work on some more React Native for my normal job. Let's see. All right, let me go back to where we started. Gilvain, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so apologies, says, I'm from Brazil. I really like your channel. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Michael added, so we were talking about the CS50 course earlier and whether or not it was good for beginners, and Michael Creel says, CS50 is designed for noobs. Excuse me, is designed for noobs if you start at the beginning. And I do agree. I think, like, so normally your intro to computer science class would be like CS 100 or 101, right? So CS 50 is like, as far as I can remember, the whole idea of the class was that you could come into it, like your major in university could be something totally different than computer science, but you could still take this course and do well and understand it. So at least it's supposed to be like that. I didn't go through the whole course. I just did the first couple of videos. So I don't know how difficult it actually gets. But the first couple of videos were, like I said, I mean, pretty easy to understand. Okay. Sufine says, thanks for sharing your knowledge. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Justin says, can someone please give me the breakdown of what we're making? Sorry, I just joined. Yeah, if you want a more in-depth breakdown, watch like video 1 or 2. Video 1's kind of rough. We had some technical difficulties. Maybe video 2 would be better. But basically, we're just making an app that helps children to learn basic math. They can practice their math problems. It gamifies it a little bit, so it's a little bit more fun for them. Actually, so my kids, my 9-year-old and my 7-year-old, both liked to play it, so they were just excited to be able to play any type of game, I think. Okay, Justin says, thank you. So it's a game. Yep. Yeah, it's a game. And I'm not like a game developer, so um, I've done like things that I suppose you could call them games, but they're not like legit games before. Um, so this is not at all like, if you want to learn how to be a game developer, I'm probably not the person you want to learn that from. But I do know React Native, and I do know web development. So that's more like where I'm coming from. I'm just trying to make a game like really for my children, and I want to try to release this in the app stores at some point if I think it's decent, so that other kids could also potentially get some benefit from it. So that's why I'm doing this. Justin says, you can make whatever you want. I just love coding devs. Oh, awesome. Thank you. All right, cool. Well, I've gotten through the everything in the chat. Like I said earlier, if I missed your question, just put it in the comments. You can also follow me on social media. So the link to my YouTube channel is in the description. If you go there, I have all my different social media links available for my channel. So check them out if you want to, message me on social media. Also, if you like this, you can follow freeCodeCamp and set the notifications so you get notified whenever I'm going to go live. Occasionally, I do some videos and live streams on my own channel. So if you're interested in that, please check that out. Subscribe, and you'll get notifications for that as well. I'm going to try to be back on Friday. I'm not sure. Last Friday, I think I ended up not feeling well and slept in, and so I didn't stream, so apologies for that, but I really want to try to stream at least twice a week, so I'm going to try to get another one in this week, so just be looking out for that. Like I said, you'll get the notification if you're subscribed, and I do post on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram before I stream, so you will get updates there before a stream happens. And if you miss it, you can always catch the recording later on. Okay. So until next time, have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. And I don't know what we'll work on next time. That'll be to be decided. But until then, I'll see ya.